Welcome to Life Beyond Clinical Practice.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life Beyond Clinical Practice. Today, I'm so excited about this guest interview because it's something I've never done before, such an unconventional career that our guest today, Dr. Janice Luk, has, and really looking forward to unpacking her career conversation and how that's led to actually a business venture in the beauty industry. So welcome, Dr. Janice. So glad to have you, and for the sake of the audience, Dr. Janice Luk is a Vancouver-based optometrist who's now entered the beauty industry and specifically taken her eye care expertise into the lash and lid care sector. And it's such a novel concept when I came across your career journey. But beyond that, Dr. Janice Luk is also the co-founder of iThos, and she's going to talk a little bit more about that, which is bridging the gap between beauty trends and eye care, as well as being a BC Doctors of Optometry board member. And so we have someone of high esteem in the optometric industry in Canada with us today. Welcome, Dr. Janice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Venstade, and the pleasure is honestly all mine. It's been such a fun journey throughout all of this, and it's just nice to be able to chat about it. So I'm so excited to be here. So thank you.
Awesome. So maybe let's start with your journey, a little bit about your background, how you got into optometry school, perhaps, if that's something that you had planned a long time ago, and then just the colorful path of practicing optometry and then this opportunity to really add value to the beauty industry. Looking forward to you unpacking that story a little bit for us.
And I'm just learning every day, so I don't know if I'm adding any value, but it's just been a fun process.
Awesome.
But I guess I'll start off with my career journey. I started wanting to be an optometrist in grade 6, and that was because of my own eyes. So I would have been actually the perfect candidate for myopia control and as a subspecialty instead of dry eye and beauty trends, because I started wearing glasses in grade 1. I hated going to the optometrist, and I always felt as if there was a bit of communication that was lacking, because there's always, here's a new pair of glasses, and see you next year. So I dreaded it just because every time I went, I met my books and my Game Boy got taken away from me. So what was, I guess, something I didn't like became something I was very interested in. So that's where my career started, and that's where the interest in optometry started.
I love that because it's rooted in your lived experience, right? So what was, as you say, something you dreaded or frustrated you on some level as a child became this sort of fascination. And I think, what would you say to that 6-year-old Janice, now looking at where you are in your career?
In my career, I would say that's great, but I would say, don't worry, you'll get your books back. So.
Oh, absolutely. And then post-optometry school, sort of a little bit about your journey in practice. And then where did this sort of thread of really seeing a need or a gap or perhaps just an encounter with the beauty industry start this whole new trajectory in your career path?
For sure. So this trajectory didn't actually start very early on. So it's my 10th year out. So I graduated 2016. I would say probably 4 or 5 years in is when I started really noticing and paying attention to the beauty trends, in a sense that I started seeing a lot of patients coming in with eyelash extensions, lifts, tints. At that point, eyelash extensions were really trending, and I was practicing in Toronto. And so a lot of patients were coming in with these, and a lot of times they were coming in with conditions like styes, dry eye, obviously blepharitis, and so forth. And my mindset back then was always, oh gosh, it's definitely something that we don't like seeing. And I would try to encourage them to actually not do lash extensions. But then there came a point where I started pivoting my mindset, where I was like, we're losing trust in patients because we're telling them to not do something that they care a lot about.
Right.
And everyone cares about how they look, obviously. And these patients coming in are seeking us for expertise, but we might not be best equipped to be telling them just not to do it. So how do we work together to empower our patients to feel good sharing that they get lash extensions and look to us for guidance? So how do they get it in the best way that's good for their eye health while still looking good and making themselves feel good? And so I started doing a very deep dive in terms of looking for information about lash extensions. How do you care for them? How do you find best practices? And I realized there really is a gap because there's so much in the beauty industry. there's so many things that we don't know, and I'm learning every day. And the beauty industry is evolving and it's changing, and there's trends that
Yeah.
are happening. And how do we stay up on top of all of this fun stuff? And I came across actually LashCon, which is a lash conference for lash extensions specifically. It's actually bigger than some of the Canadian conferences. There's over
Oh,
a
wow.
thousand attendees. Yes, it's very, very interesting. And so that year when I saw that conference, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's sign up for this and just as an attendee and see what happens.
Hmm.
And so it peaked from the idea of interest and learning and just wanting to integrate myself into the industry, not for the sake of wanting to be a part of it. I just wanted to
Right.
see what it was like. And I was blown away by what we don't know. And so that became my interest, is just learning from the whole beauty and lash industry and then taking it back to the optometry side for the sake of our patients and as well as the practitioners in this space, because we encounter these patients every day in our chair.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. I love that. I love your reframe of the thinking, right? From saying that, lashes are not good for you, lash extensions are not good, to how can we work together? And then the curiosity to learn more about it, really just to, I guess, serve your patients better. And look where it's landed you today, becoming almost an authority in this space, because you're breaking new ground in terms of how we think about working alongside the beauty industry as optometric professionals. So I really love that story, but somewhere along the way, getting into it from curiosity to application in practice, um, this ethos was born. And tell us, yeah, how did your curiosity and practice intentions then lead to sort of the business endeavor to support better lash health and products that support improved patient care in this space?
For sure. So
Mm.
part of this actually evolved during LashCon. They have their own trade show. And so walking around the trade show, obviously we know what is good for your eyes. We see it
Mm-hmm.
every day in practice. But looking through the ingredient list of some of the lash cleansers or some of the other, let's say, glues or other types of aftercare that you use for lash extensions, the ingredients in there weren't the best. And that led me to really think, how do we introduce product that's actually healthy that we recommend for our patients every day in clinic into this space so that we can start introducing it to not just people sitting in our chair, but more of the general public. And
Right.
so Ethos was born not product based, but more education based. So my idea with the brand was always to bridge the gap between beauty and eye care, but part of education still has to pay the bills. So
For sure.
ultimately, how Ethos was born was to give lash artists, let's say, hey, look, there is something here is eye health. That's why it's important. But here's a
Hmm.
funnel that you can use and make some money off of it while still recommending this for your clients. So they have almost like an incentive to want to recommend a
Right.
product that is eye friendly. So that
Wow.
was the idea behind it. Uh, it is a bit of a shift just because the lash industry, for us as optometrists, we are so able to say, hey, this is healthy for your eyes, this is good. But we have to shift the paradigm for the lash artist to understand how important eye health is, because it might not be
Yes.
something that is something they're even cognizant of that they are
Hmm.
affecting by doing lash extension. So it's been interesting. It's been educational and marketing and all this fun stuff that is just very different than my day-to-day job.
Day to day, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're making me think. 2 days ago, I gave a talk to 100 plus optometrists in South Africa. I'm
Cool.
originally from South Africa, so was asked by Specsavers South Africa to do part of their professional development talks.
Nice.
And one of the themes I spoke about was curiosity in practice.
Hmm.
Just being curious, asking questions, thinking outside of the box, because so many optometrists, as I'm sure you'll know, reach a point of what's next. They're looking for a new
Yeah.
spark, something to ignite them in a new direction. And I think curiosity is just what's led you down this path of how can we do better, and opened up a whole new world, and I'm sure a very exciting world for you in your professional life. And I love that it's living alongside your clinical practice, because I don't believe the two need to necessarily are mutually exclusive, that we can be in industry, add value to industry, and still sort of be in our practices and do what we were trained to do.
I fully agree with that. So it's like an extension of what we're already doing. So we have the
That's right.
foundation through optometry. It's almost like a launch pad. And then everything else
Yes.
that we do based off that, whether it's the podcast for you or any other endeavors, it's just another launch pad, just an idea that just sparks off.
Totally. And then just using your expertise to add value in a different way, shape, or form to another group of people or another aspect of the world. And so that's such fun stuff. So what would you say, did you, when you sort of saw this need and opportunity, were there any internal hesitations or questions about, is this sort of betraying, in a sense, not betraying my profession, but
Yes.
what would people think? This is the beauty industry.
Hmm.
Will I be judged? All of those things, self-doubt sometimes creeps in when we want to break new ground in territory as yet unexplored.
Big time. I know you don't know me personally, but I have so much imposter syndrome to start off with. So this topic actually is so personal to me because I had
Oh,
so
wow.
much doubt when I first started this journey. I was very afraid of pushback from other
Wow.
peers,
Mm-hmm.
extremely afraid. We already have a general consensus, I would say, as optometrists that chemicals, cyanoacrylate, other types of sticking plastic on your
Yeah,
lashes with sharp
it's bad.
object. It's exactly. I don't want to say it's bad, but even our patients come in and they say, "Oh, are you going to tell me to take these lash extensions off?" So there's a stigma around lash
For
extensions
sure.
that's almost unspoken. So when I first started dabbling with this industry, I was very nervous about pushback from the optometry space. I got a
Yeah.
lot of questions actually. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to talk to lash artists? Why are you wasting your time on this? So it
It's the
was an internal
perception, the
battle,
dominant
extremely,
perception for sure.
for sure. But what I think pivoted how this continued to grow was my mindset. So I went
Mm-hmm.
back to it. What's the value that I'm trying to add here? So I'm trying to bridge the gap between beauty and eye care. It hasn't
Mm-hmm.
existed yet for a reason. And if we can empower our patients, ultimately it's about the patient. That's why we do what we do.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
if we can empower the patient so that they feel that they trust us as their practitioner and not just
Right.
shut them down. And if we can work together with them to collaborate, and the collaboration doesn't begin with just the patient in our chair, it begins with the lash artist because they're the ones that are seeing our patients
Mm-hmm.
possibly up to 10 times, 15 times a year. And we see our patients once every 2 years if they're healthy. So how do we then bridge that? It's through the lash artists. So my whole vision became educating the lash artists, and then that translates to educating patients. And once I cleared that up and we're empowering everyone together to elevate the healthcare side of things, that's how
Right.
I changed my messaging. And that's how I became quote unquote okay with it, despite all the pushback.
Yeah. Because your why was based on ethics and values, and it wasn't for any other reason except to do good for the people we are trained to serve. And by extension, those that are treating them in other, in a different aspect of their lives, being for, their beauty care needs. So I really love that you framed it as the value you want to add, not looking at it necessarily from a selfish, this is just what I want to do for me, or I'm taking advantage of a gap or an opportunity in the market, but it's like, how can I close this gap, fix this problem? It's now to reframe how clinicians think about our relationship with the beauty industry. So, I commend you for being brave enough to walk that pivot path and charting new territory in that regard. And on that note, I would say, I'm coming into sort of the theme of personal branding for health professionals. So obviously, you're known as an optometrist. Now people are asking, what are you doing with the beauty industry? How important would you say personal branding is for health professionals who want to pivot into different spaces? And how have you been able to grow your brand beyond just that of being a clinical optometrist?
For sure. So personal branding, I don't think it just applies to healthcare. It applies to every business or every person. So do I think it's important? Extremely. In the
Mm-hmm.
healthcare space, it's a bit of a interesting pivot because I think when I first graduated, the idea of a healthcare individual being someone with a personal brand hasn't
Yeah,
always existed. I think with the help of social media, whether it's like Instagram or TikTok, this type of personal branding has become more prevalent.
right.
And so I would say lean into it. We got to stay trending, right? In
For
any
sure.
business.
Yep.
And so with, I guess,
One.
I've never thought of it as personal branding myself per se, but I started going on Instagram actually before the whole beauty endeavor. It was during COVID.
Okay.
I had a bit of extra free time. I was like,
Oh,
oh,
we all did.
yeah, I was like, let's create some content to educate patients. It never was supposed to evolve into anything. It was supposed to be fun. And then when this whole endeavor with the beauty thing started. I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun to endeavor into this with the beauty stuff, kind of
Right.
tinkered into it. And then it actually became a networking platform for me, more so
Wow.
than just putting out reels, because a lot of lash artists are on Instagram. That's their primary way of marketing to patients or their clients. And so it was just a way of connecting. And it's so cool because yes, I'm sitting in my condo in Vancouver, but I can be talking to someone in Australia.
Oh, I
And
love it.
it's just such a it's social media is such a powerful tool that we're not
It is,
utilizing. So that's
for
just how I
sure.
feel. Yeah.
And I think initially, especially, I think lots of health professionals that I come across anyway are still, I won't say intimidated by putting themselves out there on Instagram or TikTok, but still it's the perceptions that we have of influencers or
I
people who,
agree.
and so it's breaking down those mental barriers so that we can use the platforms and tools, um, to advance the cause, or whether for our benefit or the benefit of those we want to help. They really are powerful tools, and so yeah, we just have to do it. We can't escape the age of the media and really having a presence online. So, how then do you translate your clinical expertise into new career language? So, if I asked you, how do you introduce yourself in industry spaces? What would you say?
That's actually a very good question. I guess it's communication in a way that's tailored to your audience. Just like how when we
Mhm.
see our patients, it doesn't matter how much we know. If the patient doesn't leave their chair understanding what just
Mm, for
happened in their
sure.
eye exam or what takeaways there are, your job was not done. And
Right.
so it's understanding the audience and then tailoring based off of that. So for me, it took a while with the lash artist space. If I were to, I guess, touch on that, for them to understand the eye health, it became about retention because for them, the terms that they are used to in their day-to-day language is how do those lashes stay on longer? So it became an equation of good eye health means good retention. It's just breaking it down so it's
Right.
simple for everyone to understand. And so likewise with the speaking, it's when I introduce myself, it's depending on the audience. I think I'm just learning every day. So I never approach any kind of speaking engagement with the fact that I'm teaching you anything. It's we're all learning together, but these are just some facts for today that we're sharing knowledge.
I love it. I'm chuckling inside because I'm the same. I'm learning every day. I
Yes.
started this podcast just over 2 years ago, and like literally every day I'm sharpening another skill, learning something new, and figuring it all out. And every time I'm asked for a bio, if I'm asked to give a presentation or speak, I'm always tweaking it based on the
Yes.
audience, based on
Hmm.
the focus of the presentation. So I think there's an art to just understanding who you're talking to and how to present yourself and your value to different audiences. It isn't like you have one sort of a pitch or one bio that's
Correct.
just applicable to everybody. So my challenge to health professionals listening today is just get out there, just start practicing, just be organic, and the
Agree.
confidence will come. You'll learn how to articulate your value better, but you just got to start somewhere. So yeah, it's a journey, but such an exciting one when you're learning every day, Dr. Janice.
No. And I love that because it shows that you stepped out of your comfort zone to start this
Right.
podcast, which I know was not easy for sure. So I commend you for that. And then it's the consistency. The fact that you've been doing this
Mhm.
for 2 years, it's so easy to go home after a clinic day and say, I'm so tired. Let's just turn on Netflix and start watching TV.
Totally.
So I commend you for the consistency of getting
Thank you.
so many episodes of this podcast up. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. So as we draw the interview to a close, what advice would you give, Dr. Janice, to anyone listening who perhaps they've had an idea or seen a need in a different space and had this inkling to branch out, but mm, like face a lot of internal resistances or insecurities. Should I pursue
mhm.
this unconventional path? What would people say? What would your advice be to that person listening today?
It would be the same advice that you just gave. Just do it. It sounds so cliche, it really
Yeah.
does, but nobody really cares what you're doing ultimately. Everyone's too busy in their own lives just doing
Yeah.
their own thing, if I'm being completely
Mhm.
honest. We are in our heads a lot thinking that every
For
move that
sure.
we make is being judged, which in
Yeah.
some capacity it is.
It is.
But I
Yeah.
think we get in our head too much that we don't actually action on things. And
For
I
sure.
was very lucky when I started this journey that I had a very good support system that was like, just do it, just do it. So it was like a voice that was constantly pushing. So if this podcast even becomes that one voice, just do it. And
Right.
as long
Thank you.
as you're, as long as I feel like you're passionate about something, it'll shine through. So if
For
you're interested
sure.
in something and you're passionate about it, just move forward with it and everything else will fall into place.
100%. Honestly, I'm 137 episodes in now, I think.
Wow.
And if you go back to my first maybe 10 episodes, they are awful.
I
I was
beg to
just like,
differ, but
yeah, it was far from anything it is today, but I learn and I grow. Like I said, you improve, you build your confidence. And so I just started. I knew there was a mission to fulfill. I was passionate about the space. And so, yeah, I think I just echo that as well to anyone listening. If you've seen a need in your practice, you've had a passion to branch out in a specific space, just start, imperfect and all, and it will just grow from there. So your story has been so inspiring, Dr. Janice. Keep doing great work. I think you're filling such a need in this space of lashes and lash care in the beauty industry and bringing really clinical excellence to that space, and wishing you and ITOS all the best as you expand and continue to add value to the beauty industry in that way.
thank you, Dr. Diane. And if I can actually, can I add one more thing?
For sure. Yeah.
So Ithos has been amazing in its own capacity, but I am actually working on a new passion project again. This one is specific to optometrists. And
Love it.
so the more I got into the lash industry and got back to speaking with optometrists, I realized how much of a gap there is from the knowledge side, even for me. Like I'm learning every day and I'm learning from the beauty professionals. So I'm actually creating an online network right now that's industry funded for optometrists to get information from lash artists and ultimately to bridge the gap between beauty and eye care through a different way. So I'm less product based and more just community based, education based. So it's called iBeauty Collective. It's still very early on. So that's why.
Yay! Sounds awesome.
But well, anyway, it's another interest and it's something I'm passionate about. And I'm really hoping that it'll add value to the optometry space and ultimately add value to lash artists too. So that's
Oh,
where I'm at.
no doubt. Actually, I wanted to ask a little bit about that when you were talking about sort of
Mhm.
educating the lash artists. So excited that this is sort of being formalized in a way that, people have access to credible information that can then elevate the quality of care. So I'll be watching this space. I know how much time it takes just to do this podcast and everything associated with it. So I don't want to know how busy you are and how much sleep you have, but building a business, creating something from nothing. It's really, it takes a lot of time, energy and effort, but when your heart is it and you're in
Mhm.
it and you're passionate about it, it's just, the price seems very small. So you
It's
can see
fun.
the bigger picture and you know that it's going to just benefit so many people. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm so excited for sure, for sure. And we'll be watching your journey, Dr. Janice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And it's been wonderful chatting to you.
It's been so wonderful being here, and it's so nice talking to like-minded individuals. So I'm happy you're so passionate about this too. And thank you for adding your value into the industry.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, with that, I just want to say to everyone listening, go out, just do your best. Look to your full, find opportunity. There's a space for each of us to add value to the world in unique ways. So goodbye, everyone. Until next time.